The theme for 2023 is Living Out Loud. The theme for May is Light Within the Shadows. The topic for today is the inner and outer spectrum. Ernest Holmes writes, the Spirit of God dwells in the inner human with power and might. The outer human reflects the Spirit insofar as the intellect allows it to come forth into expression. The Buddha once said, we can never obtain peace in the outer world until we make peace with ourselves. An excerpt from the Gospel of Thomas, chapter 22, affirms that when our outer expression is in alignment with the indwelling God Self, we enter the kingdom of heaven consciousness. When you make the two one, and when you make the inner as the outer, and the outer as the inner, and the as above as the below, then you will enter the kingdom. Let us mindfully affirm together.
I'm sorry, we're having a technical difficulty with the slideshow. It froze up on me. I'm working on it.
Okay. Well, I will affirm for us. My inward journey and outward experience are in perfect alignment.
My inward journey and outward experience are in perfect alignment.
Thank you. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce the Reverend Dr. Kathleen Johnson.
Okay, how about now? Good. I'd like to begin with a story. It's a story of a student who comes to his wise teacher and asks the question, what is more important, inner beauty or outer beauty? And so, as many wise teachers do, the teacher asked him another question. He said, tell me, if you needed to buy a house and had enough money for either a beautiful outside and a comfortless inside, or a simple outside and a comfortable inside, what would you choose? To which the student responded, I would choose a simple outside and a comfortable inside. The teacher responded, regardless of your choice, you will be missing either beauty or comfort, and would seek for what is missing. Possessing a half, beauty or comfort, you will be drawn to experience the whole, which includes the other half. You see, a half is a half, despite how great it is. This teaching story is more about a house. I'm sure you realize at this point. These teaching stories give us some deep awareness of things about consciousness. And to me, it affirms the wholeness of the inner spectrum of life and the outer spectrum. The inner spectrum being our thoughts and our emotions, and the outer expression being our words and our physical bodies, everything in physicality, our relationships, all of those things. So both are important, and so we are inherently drawn then to experience the qualities of God, like love, peace, joy, wisdom, intelligence. We're drawn to experience not only in our hearts and in our minds, we are drawn to experience it in our outer lives. Thus the beauty of the sunset, or the beauty of nature. Sue Morter put it this way, which I think is so beautiful. We experience our wholeness here on earth as our spirit self comes into expression through the body as our thoughts, words, and actions, producing the experience of health, relationships, work, finances, and well-being, all as an expression of the spirit self. And Ernest Holmes often reminds us that we are spirit in the flesh. We're spirit in the flesh, and that the physical universe is the body of God. It's the expression, the creative expression of the ultimate genius of the universe. And the Bible calls this entering the kingdom of heaven. And when we look at what that means, because, the teaching of Jesus of Nazareth is that the kingdom of heaven is where? Within. We're talking about a state of consciousness, heavenly consciousness, in which we experience the unity, the wholeness of life, the oneness of life. That perspective, that understanding that everything is part of the whole, is very liberating, and we can stop judging things as good or bad or right or wrong. We can instead take the high watch and begin to see that this is the interplay of life, and that things that are called contrasts, things that we don't want, are simply those things that give birth to greater expression, because we're looking for solutions, right? And solutions help us to grow, expand, and unfold in consciousness. So it's a very different perspective, this kingdom of heaven consciousness, this unity or oneness consciousness. And thus the great movement that's been taking place on our planet for quite a while, called the holistic approach to life, where we take care of the inner world, but we also take care of the body and our outer world, because it's all part of the whole. Our teaching symbol, the Science of Mind teaching symbol, yay, Dan is back. Okay. It reflects the creative process, this creative process where thoughts become our experience and things in our world. And so that creative process, because it's inherent in our being, we're individualizations of the ultimate grand artist or creator of the universe. It means that we are 24/7 in the process of creating, where our thoughts, our beliefs, those things that take place in the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, are all producing our experience. And so it's very important that we learn how this process works and then begin to attend to what's going on in our minds, what's coming out of our mouths, because we're always in the process of creating. Spiritual mind treatment, the prayer type that Mary just used, is a powerful form of prayer that helps us to enter this kingdom of heaven consciousness. The first two steps in prayer help us enter. We come into alignment with who we are and our place in the universe as individualizations of the divine. We come into alignment with being aware that we are in the process of creation, even just by contemplating the nature of God, the nature of spirit. We're coming into a broader, expanded oneness consciousness, from which then, when we speak our word of that which we choose to bring forth into the world, health, prosperity of all kinds, whatever they are, then our word is coming from this higher vibrational frequency place of oneness consciousness. Very powerful. Very, very powerful. So spiritual mind treatment then is ultimately for the purpose of entering the kingdom of heaven consciousness and expressing it in this time-space reality, in these bodies, through these bodies, and into expression and creation, things that happen or are happening all around us, like this beautiful labyrinth that's in front of us. So that is the backdrop of what we're up to today before we get involved in the labyrinth walk. And I want us to be able to do it very peacefully and at our own pace. So I've allowed enough time for this to take place. One of the things that gets in the way of this greater expression of our divinity is, I think, summarized in this quote by Carl Jung. He said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." I'm going to read that again. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. What is the darkness? What am I talking about? Well, remember our outer world is a reflection of our inner world. And so that inner world made up of the conscious mind and the subconscious mind is where we want to look. But even more than the conscious mind, what's going on in the subconscious mind? Because that can be beyond, that could be, seem like it's in the darkness, like it's out of our awareness, yet it's operating in the background and it's demonstrating as what's going on in our lives. So this is not a judgment or a blaming of ourselves in any way. It's really an opportunity to just witness and notice, almost like a scientist investigating, I wonder what's going on in my mind. When we meditate, we're able to hear the backdrop of the voice that's going on, that inner conditioned mind that's not serving us. And in order to, again, when we make that conscious, when we become aware of it through meditation, then we can release it. But as long as we're totally clueless of what's going on, it will continue to run our lives. So as we're using this beautiful spiritual practice called labyrinth, what I'm going to invite each one of you to do is to cultivate peace of mind, which is a gateway to Kingdom of Heaven consciousness, oneness consciousness. Use the labyrinth to, as you enter all the way around and into the center, I'd like you to just become quiet, listen carefully, and release any discordant thoughts, anything that gets in the way of your sense of peace of mind. Just notice them and release them. Notice them and release them. And so that's the process on the way in. It's making the darkness conscious and releasing it. When you get to the center, so it's a letting go process. When you get to the center, that's the point of illumination. And there's a summary of this on those handouts I have for you too. That's the point of illumination. After you've done all that releasing, when you stand in the center, stand there and listen for guidance. For guidance that's just, particular to you in terms of being that presence of peace on the planet. Whatever is yours to receive. Give yourself a moment and listen. You can give thanks for the releasing, but also listen. Listen. Give yourself a moment of illumination. And then, as you proceed outward, back through the same path that you came, that entire part of the process is about divine union. So you can do whatever you want to. I made a suggestion. You could just chant, "I choose peace" within yourself. Use it as a mantra. You could just simply walk in the silence, the peace of the silence. You could do some breath work, breathing, deep, slow breathing to cultivate a sense of peace in your body temple. Whatever is yours to do, or just simply maybe just by walking slowly, that will calm the mind. So what you're doing on the way out is you're experiencing divine union, that oneness consciousness, that deep inner sense of peace. So when you emerge then, you emerge as a transformed being. All right? Isn't that lovely? And then for those who don't want to walk, you can use the handout. And what you can do is you can just run your finger along the path on the way in. And the research shows that that is just as meditative as walking it. So you can do either one. Or you can do both. Maybe after you've walked, you want to come back and try to do it with your finger, on the paper. This is your time. This is your time for self-transformation, for deepening into the awareness of your spirit nature, which is peace. So this is really an unveiling of the peace that is already present within the center and core of your being as your true self, your spirit self. So Dan is going to be, I have one more pointer, and that is as you pass others, it's okay to step outside the line, bow namaste, and then keep moving. And this is what I'm going to invite us to do. I'd like to divide us into a couple of groups. So let's have this whole side, and maybe through, we have some people in the back too. So maybe through Carla, which includes Judy and Monica. So we'll have you in the first group. Is that about half? And then the rest of you will be in the second group that goes through. Okay, and just notice as people come out, then the people on this side, you can start coming in. But in the meantime, you could do the finger labyrinth, and you can also use with provided pens. We can also use the back of the paper to journal insights. While you're waiting for others, you can sit in meditation. You can journal. I'm just going to let you decide what is highest and best. I put a pen on, we had a pen put on everybody's chair, so everybody should have a pen. Raise your hand if you don't have a pen or a handout, please. All right, great. Okay, Dan is going to be playing some meditative music. Yes. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yes, for our friends who are on Facebook, I invite you to take a moment with pen and paper available to you. And if you want to use a finger labyrinth, I actually provided a copy in the newsletter. If you get our newsletter, you can download that and use that. But I invite you, whatever you do, is to take a moment and ask yourself, in fact, I'm going to ask everybody in this moment before you turn it off, turn within and ask yourself, what is the highest expression of peace in my life, knowing that inner peace turns into outer peace. What is the highest idea within, the very mind of the divine within, of your life as being an expression of peace? So you might want to take a few moments and journal that. The highest expression of peace. What does my life look like, feel like, sound like when I am living in a state of peace? So for the people at home as well, I invite you to do that. Release in what beliefs and habits must I release in order to be the presence of peace? That's the release. That's what you'll use on your way in. And then on the way back, what is it that I am to embody or embrace to be the presence of peace? That's your journey back. So we're using the labyrinth to as movement, meditation for releasing and embracing, those last two parts. And so when you're ready, I know some of you are still writing, that's fine. I invite you to go ahead and begin, and Dan's going to play some meditation music.